Okay. Mhm.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day to all our viewers across the globe and welcome to this very serious episode of Global Arena on my YouTube channel, Global Arena TV. I'm your host, Umar Isa Dandago. On Wednesday, the 23rd of this month, August 2023, the sun set with the shocking news of a plane crash in Russia, killing 10 people on board, one of which is presumed to be the boss of the Wagner mercenary group, a Russian private military company accused by some Western analysts and journalists like Alex Phillips of Talk TV of quote unquote doing Vladimir Putin's dirty work in Syria and now in Ukraine and Africa. There have been and still are a great deal of doubt about who might have been behind the downing of the plane. Some people, some Russians, of course, believe that Ukraine was responsible, but many analysts in the West believe that this is exactly a Putin's way of exerting revenge on anybody that crosses him, that betrays him. Remember, at the end of June, the late, if he is truly dead, Yevgeny Prigozhin led a short-lived mutiny against the Kremlin and was later sent to Belarus on exile. But amazingly, he continued to be spotted in different directions, in different places, including a desert that looked like Africa. So the confusing questions we're going to be asking are, A, is Mr. Prigozhin really dead? And is Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, absolutely behind the assassination? B, what is the future of the Wagner mercenary group, both in Ukraine and here in Africa? And the $1 million or the million ruble question here is Putin, who the West says he really is, but to unpack these mysteries and these mysterious issues, I am delighted to let you know that I'm joined from the UK by Dr. Yvonne Ridley, the author of In the Hands of the Taliban, who is also a public affairs and military affairs analyst. Thank you very much indeed, Doctor, for coming on the show. You're speaking to us directly in your car.
Yes, I'm just on the outskirts of Edinburgh.
In Scotland. So you're joining us from the capital city of Scotland.
A country I always wanted to visit.
Yeah, that's great. Abdullahi Manneh wants to visit, me too. So Dr. Yvonne would one day invite us. All right. Yeah, so from St. Petersburg, where the Wagner mercenary group is headquartered, I'm joined by Abdullahi Manneh, a Gambian living in Russia, who is happily married to a Russian Muslim woman. Mr. Abdullahi Manneh, many thanks for coming back to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Well, briefly, we want to get straight to the point. Abdullahi Manneh, you are currently based in St. Petersburg. Though the accident, the plane crash that killed or that allegedly killed or presumably killed Yevgeny Prigozhin did not crash in St. Petersburg. It crashed somewhere more than 90 miles away from Moscow. Briefly tell us, what is the situation like where you are there in St. Petersburg? How are people reacting? Do they believe that he was killed?
No, here we all, I wouldn't say we all, we have theories, but him being alive is not one of them. I do communicate with native Russians who definitely watch Russian TV and understand very well. First of all, the way his death is covered in Western media isn't that much covered like in Western media in Russia. It is not that much covered. Yes, maybe few episodes and that's it. They talk about other important things.
So you're saying that You are saying that his death is not that very important, that
No,
it deserves attention of the media. The media are not covering it.
No, the media relatively to the Western media, the coverage is different. Western media, you can see, compared to BRICS and the celebration of the war in Kursk, if I could remember, the commemoration of that war, Western media covered the Afghanistan incident more than the Russian media. Russian media, if you compare it to Afghanistan incident, they cover the BRICS more and the celebration in Kursk, if I could remember the city's name well.
A lot of people will say the reason. Yeah, a lot of people will say the reason why the Russian media are so focused on the BRICS is because they want to idealize Putin. They want to show that Putin is a great guy and is contributing towards the promotion and development of the BRICS union and stuff like that.
Though people went to the Wagner headquarters and then placed flowers, and it started from St. Petersburg, then it spread all over the must be other major cities. So he's a controversial figure here. He was very, he was celebrated much more, a lot before the mutiny. But after the mutiny, the society got divided and his popularity started dwindling. However, the situation here is we have theories that he might be killed by Putin. He might be killed by people within the around Putin who are, because he has a lot of enemies. He cleared a lot of enemies here and abroad. And then third one would be probably foreign powers might be involved, foreign intelligence. So these theories we have. But to say that he's not dead, I haven't heard that from any Russian. Yeah. I only read that from people abroad.
Yeah, since Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, has expressed his condolences to the family,
yes,
so that is a little bit of confirmation about his death. Dr. Yvonne Ridley, come in. Are you satisfied with the level of coverage that the Yevgeny Prigozhin's death has generated on the Western media?
Well, the Western media have reported his death several times, and so now they're reluctant to say for sure. This man appears to have more lives than a cat.
Yes,
and it's all part of his legend. But I suspect that he is dead, and of course, nothing happens in Russia without the say-so of Vladimir Putin, and these two did have a serious fallout. Of that we can be sure. But those who live by the sword die by the sword. He was a violent man. He was head of a mercenary group, Wagner, which has really made an impact in Africa, in the Middle East, and in Ukraine. And I doubt that there will be many people sorry to see him go, other than the soldiers. They're all mercenaries, and naturally they're going to want to know, are we still going to be paid?
Okay, they are not loyal to anybody. They are only loyal to diamonds and golds and money, right?
Yes,
is that true?
They're mercenary soldiers, so their focus is on payday. But they have been asked to swear allegiance to Russia, which tends to suggest that they're going to be absorbed into the Russian military. And of course, there are many stories around the formation of the mercenary fighters. We're told that a lot are cutthroat killers who've been pulled off death row and given a last-minute reprieve to join Wagner. So it's a very messy business. If we are to believe the rumors, there was a bomb planted in a wine bottle, put in a wine crate on board the aircraft that blew up. I don't think it was brought down by Ukraine, although I'm sure the finger of blame can be pointed in many directions. But I think we can be sure of one thing, and that is that the head of Wagner is dead.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Dr. Yvonne, do you think it was Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, that called the shot, that gave the direct order to assassinate, to kill Yevgeny Prigozhin? Do you think, deep down in your mind, this is a personal issue, opinion?
Well, I think anyone who falls out or upsets Vladimir Putin has a very short shelf life. And maybe the actual assassination was carried out by somebody who is an ally of Putin, wanting to ingratiate himself with the Russian president. Certainly those who have made enemies of the Russian president have not lived to tell the tale. Well, they certainly haven't lived very long. And we've had a few suspicious deaths and attempted assassinations in Britain from enemies of Putin. So, you know, his ability to wreak revenge is very long.
Okay, Abdullahi Manneh, a lot of people believe that it was Putin that is behind the attack. And I know for sure that Russians have been saying that it is Ukraine that is behind this, even though a lot of Western analysts have debunked this assertion, saying that how on earth could a Ukrainian operative penetrate Russia and carry out such a massive attack on a private jet of high-level person like Prigozhin? Do you believe that, okay, who do you believe is behind this? Putin or the people that Prigozhin, the late Prigozhin, was an enemy of the top generals?
First of all, I would like to address, I haven't talked to any Russian who thinks Ukrainians did it. That is ordinary Russians I've talked to. And, but many of them believe it's probably not even the man himself directly, Putin, but those, especially within the military, because I would say if Prigozhin's, Putin was his defense. Actually, when he was alive, he could do anything, he could say anything. He was untouchable because of his connection with Putin. And there were angry people around there who he went after, tried to destroy or to antagonize or something like that on screen and every time, and belittle the military of Russia. And that angered so many hardliners within the government or within around Putin. Putin seems to be the soft guy here, and why would Putin even send him to Belarus? He would, if he wanted to assassinate him. There are many ways to do that. When he sent him to Belarus, he could just finish him while he wasn't there. If he's that powerful, he could do that just easily. And then he went to Africa, they could just detonate the plane in Africa and then blame Al Qaeda and ISIS guys there, the terrorist guys there. Then we will not be in all these scandals right here. But what
if Putin spared him those 2 months, for example, to finish up what he had started, what he had been?
No, that's what I'm saying. Evgeny Prigozhin released a video while he was in Africa, a day before he came to Moscow, right? They could have finished him there and be able to blame, to not bring all this international attention to Russia, but to blame some African militants that they killed him, right? But Putin will, I think, he will be so unintelligent, being a smart killer, for example, as the West presents him, to wait until Moscow and then do when BRICS was going on and other things, and to just do it right in. So that's why I personally, it's a theory. We all don't know who did it, right? We just have our theories that we believe in. I believe two groups, and I think Ukrainians are capable of doing it because they had they committed several assassinations here, high-ranking assassinations and attempted ones. They succeeded, almost all of them. Although one of them is just the driver was killed, but the guy survived. So they could do it with the help of MI6 or CIA and all this intelligence, and they are able to penetrate the borders to come here, do the assassination, and leave. And so I think it's possible. Yeah. So I think the Ministry of Defense within Russia and the people surrounding Putin could do it. It could be Ukrainians or Western intelligence.
Yes, Dr. Yvonne, what is the future of Wagner mercenary group? Are they going to be incorporated within the Russian army, for example? And what about their missions in Africa?
Well, strategically, I think it would be a mistake for Putin to absorb these mercenaries into the Russian army for no other reason than when you have mercenary soldiers, you can deploy them in areas that you might be reluctant to put your own soldiers. So from a strategic point of view, I think it would be a mistake to bring the Wagner group into the Russian military. But obviously, Putin doesn't want them marching on Moscow again, as we saw in those extraordinary scenes earlier this year. And that is why I believe that he is asking them to swear an oath of loyalty to Moscow. I think because of the precarious nature of running a mercenary outfit like Wagner, the chief must have planned what would happen in the event of his demise that would enable Wagner to continue and have a future. And of course, he had a number of very loyal senior officers who will no doubt take up the reins and keep the Wagner name and the brand going.
Do you think, Dr. Yvonne, that there may be a kind of rebellion against the Kremlin, given what has happened to Yevgeny Prigozhin? Because a lot of analysts in the West have been pointing to a possibility of a march or protest or a riot or even a, how should I put it? Disobedience, you understand, against the Kremlin by the mercenary groups because of the assassination of their big boss.
I doubt very much that there'll be an appetite within the ranks of the Wagner soldiers to rebel against Russia. I think they have just been given a lesson, a very hard lesson, about the order of things in Russia. And right at the top is Putin. And anyone who goes against Putin will suffer the consequences. I think that I know that some people are pointing the finger at Ukraine, but I don't think that that Ukraine has the skill to be able to pull off such an audacious attack. And if indeed Ukraine is behind it, why wouldn't they admit it?
Okay.
You know, they would
Yes.
be absolutely delighted to be able to say, we did that. They're not shy about their own military prowess.
Okay. Yes. Abdullahi Manneh, do you want to come in?
We have 9 minutes to go. Yeah, I wanna.
Okay. No, thank you
very,
for
very interesting points. The doctor pointed out.
So you wanna jump in?
Yeah, just a few seconds. Yes. In the beginning, I also said the same to one of my students who is of course opposition to Putin. Of course, I said no. I don't think Ukraine could do this. They don't have the skill. They don't have that capability because this one is different. The other ones, even the other ones, they were helped. I believe that no, and not even the British intelligence. They admitted, CIA admitted they helped Ukrainians with the intelligence. So I feel like the foreign power. When I say Ukraine, I meant the foreign powers who are back in Ukraine could pull this thing off. Maybe they have their agents here, everything. So when I say Ukraine, I'm giving the credit to the foreign powers, actually. Yeah, but I completely agree with Professor with Doctor that Ukraine doesn't have that capability. But again, Ukraine is not doing things alone. They are being backed and fully helped, supported by the Western powers. Yeah, and
This comes
about Wagner being, I also agree with her completely about Wagner's future, and I do believe that Wagner they've already planned everything. Everything is in plan, and Wagner was not founded by just Evgeny. It was Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. Yeah, as the doctor rightly said, mercenaries are used when a government can't send their army officially to a country. They just use the mercenaries, like foreign legion of France, and it is Blackwater in the US.
Blackwater.
All of these things, yes. So I think Wagner will go into transformation, and of course they will be loyal to the Russian state, as the doctor stated, but they will go through transformation, and they will be led by some heads in the ministry.
If you are a constant follower of the Western media, the way Vladimir Putin is being painted is more like a monstrous dictator, a guy who rules with an iron fist, a guy you cannot cross, a guy who never forgives, never forgets, as one guy put it, one analyst put it. How do the people of Russia view Vladimir Putin? As a feared leader, monster, or as a revered, benevolent leader?
We have only 6 minutes, and I would like to give more time to the doctor. So let me use only 1 minute to say this. I think the way the Western media portrays anyone that is their adversary is always detached from the reality. I don't believe what they say about what they said about Gaddafi, what they said about Saddam, what they said about every other leader they considered to be a dictator or a tyrant. And the same here about Putin. I'm not saying he's perfect. He probably did some of the things that they accuse him of doing. And let's go back when you say Putin is bad, they will bring the Chechen war, which again was provoked and supported a section or a rebel groups were supported by the West, of course, to just bring chaos in Ukraine, in Russia. It's part of Russia. It's a territory of Russia, of course. It's a federation, and likewise with Georgia. And these are the wars they bring up when they say Putin is bad and evil, and then some assassinations associated with Putin. As Dr. rightly said, if Putin doesn't do assassination directly, probably people who want to prove their loyalty to Putin would commit this assassination. Just to say about the opposition leader who was killed in 2014 or 16, I can't remember. He was killed by a Chechen. And again, I was told, I read it somewhere, I was told by an expert that Putin was not even, didn't support that, was against that after when it happened. People do things to please this kind of powerful people. It can happen. But he has done a lot for Russia, and we can see the transformation. I live here, and I can see the transformation. I would say 100% that majority of the country support him. And if we say democracy, we just go by the majority. Majority supporting now, maybe you can call this majority lunatics, whatever name, or maybe they can say they are propagandized, but that is a different topic.
Okay. Dr. Yvonne, briefly, finally, are you satisfied with how Putin is being painted and portrayed on the Western media?
No, I'm not. I think that the whole situation with Russia and Ukraine is a complex one. And unfortunately, the Western media portrays everything in a 2D black and white image. And because of this, a lot of detail is lost. Putin is painted as some sort of pantomime villain from central casting, and they are in denial that he is actually loved and adored by the Russian people. There is a small minority that are kicking back, and there is an anti-war movement that's active in Russia. But these are tiny minorities of dissenting voices. The majority of Russians approve of what Putin is doing, and he does have a high ratings approval. Of course, some people might say, well, he wouldn't he? People are terrified of him. I don't know. I think that the Russian people they quite like having this president who is very macho and riding bare-chested and plunging into freezing waters. They like that image in their leader. And so, I think that the Russian people are quite happy with that. But the Western media are in denial. And the Western media has come out with a lot of propaganda, especially since the war in Ukraine. And this propaganda, like most black propaganda, is very damaging. We were told at the beginning of the war that Putin had a terminal illness, that he was dying, and of course all of this was done to try and destabilize Putin's authority in Russia, because no one wants a leader who's about to keel over. And so there was a lot of false stories portrayed in the Western media about his state of health. Of course, Russia are the masters of black propaganda as well. So there's not just this physical battle that's going on in Ukraine. There is also a battle for hearts and minds, a propaganda war as well. And it is quite complex. And the media is doing the biggest disservice by pumping out propaganda when the truth can be far more damaging and far more powerful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Yvonne Ridley. We're running out of time, and Abdullahi Manneh, I hope within the week when we have more details, we'll be able to gather and have more experts to talk about or to continue talking about this issue. On behalf of everyone that has contributed to the production of the show, my name is Umar Isa Dandago, and we will be back very soon, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many minutes do we have left?
No,
Mr. Abdullah?
it's finished. It's gonna
Oh, good.
drop now. Okay. See you soon. It was soothing to hear, Doctor. Amazing, wise. I'm so glad.
Oh, thank you very much, Abdullah. And it was good to hear you as well. I've always wanted to go to St. Petersburg.
Oh.
I've read a lot about